And billions of Christians are still celebrating their most sacred religious week amid this pandemic. One America's Stefan Kleinhenz has more from Washington.
I'm joined by Matthew Bunsen, the executive editor of EWTN News and the Washington, D.C. bureau chief. Matthew, thanks for being here.
Very good to be with you.
This is going to be a very interesting Holy Week for faithful all across the world. What are they expecting? What is it going to look like?
For the hundreds of millions of Christians, let alone the 1 billion Catholics in the world, this is going to be a Holy Week unlike any that we have seen certainly in our lifetime, and you have to go some distance in the history of the church and the history of Christianity to find anything like this. We are looking at people all over the world in their homes, separated from their churches, and for the members of the Jewish community, separated from their synagogues, the Muslims, separated from their mosques, at home, wondering how we're going to celebrate what for Christians certainly is the holiest time of the year.
The church has always withstood challenges from war and plagues and everything in between. This is nothing new in that sense, but how does it compare to the history that the church has endured?
Well, one of the advantages about having a history that's 2,000 years old is that there isn't much we haven't seen. And that's where we can derive a great deal of comfort, but also role models in how we deal with situations like this. If you go back to the middle of the 14th century, in the 1340s, the Black Death, which killed whole parts of Europe, left parishes and dioceses without priests, in many cases without bishops, and there was that sense of being cut off by the faithful. But then there are also role models that stand up. Someone like St. Charles Borromeo, who was the Archbishop of Milan and a great reformer in the 16th century, who closed the doors of the churches because it was necessary, because of a plague, but then he was willing to go out into the streets to care for the sick and the dying.
So some people have been frustrated, some faithful have been very frustrated that they can't gather in their churches. What message do you offer to them, and is staying home and following the guidelines of the government the proper role of the Christian?
Well, I know that there's a lot of debate right now over questions of religious liberty. How far can we go? How far can we surrender going to churches? That's something that we have seen everyone from Pope Francis all the way down to local pastors trying to grapple with, finding again that balance. But one thing that we can certainly do as Christians, in particular as Catholics, is to use this moment to enrich our own spiritual lives, to recognize the importance of the faith. And in the case of going to Mass, for example, missing something like the Eucharist, which Catholics believe firmly is the source and summit of our life as Catholics, to miss something like this makes you appreciate it even more.
Matthew Bunsen, the executive editor of EWTN News. Matthew, thank you so much for coming on.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.